What are the rules for riders making contact in criterium racing? You guys have talked about bump training so clearly, or so clearly it happens, but it isn't clear when it's legal and when it should be grounds for a disqualification. There is a YouTube video of Justin Williams forcing a pass through a gap between two riders and pushing his way through, and one of the riders goes down. It didn't look like his bars were in front of either rider. I can't find the link for this, and he apologizes. He says, I think he went on to win the race, so he didn't receive any penalty as far as I know. Is it all just up to the race official's judgment? Thanks. So this one, we'll have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, that's just he won nationals. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about this specific one, or you want to go more into the other stuff first?
I think that we should less than or not, because clearly this race was probably viewed by officials and signed off on. I think it's less about talking about that one. And instead, I think we should probably get into the principles behind it.
Yeah.
Do you want to start us off with that, Ivy?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, I wanted to find like where USAC stands on disqualification. And so from the USAC manual under conduct, it says the rule is 1N9, if anyone wants to look it up. Dangerous rider, any rider who appears to present a danger to the other competitors may be disqualified by the chief referee either before, during, or after a race. So that's really vague and depends completely upon the chief official's discretion, and can also depend upon where the official is in the race, if they can see the incident from the start finish, if they're in a lead or follow moto, depending upon the course. Like, you know, it sounds like Steven's referring to a video that they saw from probably someone's like GoPro. Chief officials aren't reviewing that kind of stuff, like in that pending 15 minutes after race results, you know? So it does depend a little bit upon what the chief referee sees. But then also, you know, I want to address Steven's point of, you know, having your bars in front of another rider. It's important to make the distinction that that doesn't mean necessarily that you've won your space in a bike race. You know, there's no like golden rule of like, if my bar's in front of yours, then I can crash you out because I was here first, you know. Like there are stability things that we keep in mind in terms of your spatial awareness and your handlebars, but it's not like having your bars in front of or behind someone means that you've won or lost the space. So the other thing is that you got to keep in mind that part of racing in a field like this is not only expecting the occasional bump when someone is trying to command a space, but also being prepared to react and, you know, be stable when that happens. So, for example, in a field with Justin, those guys are all professionals or elite racers, and an experienced rider knows how to feel someone on their hip and either stay in their space, make room. And it oftentimes happens like when you're in a corner at speed and you need to be prepared to react and either decide in that moment to make space and give up the wheel or to fight if it's safe. And that's why we practice those kinds of like bumping drills or, you know, contact drills in a controlled setting so that we can be prepared for it.
And I've seen that Justin Williams video a bunch, and I'll take my what I think. I don't really know what happened. It's so hard, even if you're not in the race, it's very hard to tell. But my perception of it was there was a small gap between two riders, and Justin was going towards it. And then while he was in the middle of those two riders, the gap got closed, and the guy behind didn't realize Justin was there. It was like the guy was trying to close it on Justin. And then when that happens, you've seen this in the pro, you make body contact. There's a natural lean. Like you guys lean into each other, because if you don't do that, you're going to go down because you're actually getting pushed over. And Justin is, he is a heavy, strong rider, and he's in his 170s, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but he's big.
He's not 130 pounds, right?
He's not me.
Exactly. So like if me and John are in that situation, or I'll put John and Pete. John's Pete's 200-ish, 190 pounds. Jonathan's 140-ish. In that situation, probably Pete will look like he's pushing John over, even though Pete's just trying to stay up and leaning back, and John doesn't have the extra 60 pounds. In general, if we're going to talk about crits, my opinion is incidental bumping happens and totally is fine. It's when you make body contact on purpose, like hey, someone's on my wheel, so therefore, or on my teammate's wheel, I'm going to purposely push you out. that stuff, especially masters racers, let's never do that. You want to see me get fired up. We got families and stuff. We're not pros. If you're in the Tour de France, that's different. I don't care what you do, but you got kids at home. Let's not body check each other or try to push each other over inside of that. But to Ivy's part, it does happen, and especially it's accidental. And a lot of times it's because there's adjustment in front of you happens where then you have to move a little bit to stay up, and then that then pushes somebody else up. And if everyone's skilled and calm, everyone stays up. And that's a really important thing.
Amber, you had some great points on the bumping, and because bumping drills, we've talked about them, and I think they're probably misunderstood, right?
A little bit. Yeah. So the idea behind the bumping drills is if you're on the bike, the bike's inherently unstable. You're just on two really tiny, skinny tires, right? Like it doesn't always feel very stable. And so if you see somebody coming at you or you feel somebody pushing into you, if you haven't practiced, your instinct is to try to get away from the thing that's coming at you. And counterintuitively, that's the wrong thing to do because you are balanced on these two wheels. So if somebody's kind of leaning into you and you lean away from them, you're doubling the force in the wrong direction. And what you actually want to do is you want to lean back into them so that you cancel out the force that they're imposing on you. And then you actually both stay upright. But the problem with that is if you're an inexperienced rider, that it's usually the opposite of what your first reaction will be. So what we try to accomplish with the bumping drills is when you go out in a grassy field, someplace you feel really safe, low speed, and you lean into people, and it's really, really uncomfortable at first if you've never tried it before. But the more you do it, the more you start to feel how stable you can actually be leaning into somebody if they're leaning back into you. And once you've trained that intuition, it makes you a safer rider, because if you're in the field then and somebody accidentally leans into you or makes contact with you, you're going to react appropriately, which means not only are you going to keep yourself safe and probably prevent a crash, but you're going to keep the person who's making contact with you safe. And by not crashing, you're keeping everybody around you safe. And so that's the purpose of the bumping drills. I think sometimes this gets misunderstood because people hear about or they see incidents like, this particular instance with Justin Williams, but it happens with pros all the time. You watch a pro race and you see the contact and you think, oh, that's what the pros do. And so you think that the reason that people do bumping drills is so that they can go into a race and bump people. But that's not at all what it is. The bumping drills are really a preventative measure so that you stay safe in the incident. Contact is generally, it's unlikely and it's unwanted. Nobody really wants contact because everybody wants to be safe. And anytime you're making physical contact with another rider, the risk skyrockets. So what we want to do is avoid that, but we know that sometimes it's inevitable and you want to be prepared for those instances so you keep yourself and those around you safe. And I want to just really hammer this home because I think when people first get into bike racing, they hear little sayings like sharpen your elbows and racing's rubbing. And it's so silly because that's not actually what we do. And especially at the professional level, when this is your job, like you don't want to go down in a crash because this is your livelihood. So people are really, really cognizant of keeping themselves and people around them safe. And so, but at that level also, you have this really, really high level of skill. So somebody like Justin Williams, who has a really high level of skill and experience, can feel confident going through a small space because he knows he has the skill to manage it safely. I'll just share a quick story. One of the first times I went over to Europe, I was in the pack and someone kind of moved laterally in the field and wiped out my front wheel and I went down really hard. And I was livid. I was so angry. And I remember my husband actually said to me, she might not have expected you to be there. And I thought that was a really interesting thing to say because I thought, she shouldn't have done that. She crashed me out. But he pointed out that in that field, everyone is expecting everyone else to keep themselves safe. And what had actually happened is I had put my wheel in a vulnerable position. And she's thinking everybody in this field is a professional. No one's going to put themselves in a vulnerable position. Therefore, I should be able to move in this way without taking anyone out. And if I had been paying attention and I hadn't put my wheel there, I wouldn't have gone down. And I think that this is one of those things where, if somebody is going through a small space that disappears, the safer thing for Justin to do probably in that scenario is to keep going rather than to hit the brakes and brake check everybody behind him. he can't control what everyone around him is doing. So if somebody is not as skilled with contact and they react inappropriately, they might go down. That doesn't necessarily mean that Justin did the most unsafe thing in that moment, right? So I think it's a matter, the skill set is really, really important. It's not, you don't do the bumping drills to go out and bump people. You do it so that if it happens, you're going to be safe. And I think the other thing to remember is that as you progress through the sport and you gain these skills, you also gain the discipline to know when to use them and when not to use them. And that's a really important point, right? I think martial arts is a great example of this. As you gain skill, you also gain discipline in not using it unless it's absolutely necessary. And that's really what this is about in bike racing too.
With the Cliff Bar guys, they're extremely skilled and they race crits. But when we ride together, just out of the parking lot, they're always like bumping each other and leaning on each other, and they just surprise each other. Do you notice that, John?
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
They don't do it to me. Thank you. Well, I guess I should ask them to do it to me because maybe I'll get better at it, or at least warn me first. But yeah, to them, it's like almost like they mess with each other all the time in a safe way, and they know what they can take or not. But they get the practice all the time of like, whoa, someone just bumped me when I wasn't expecting. I'm not even clipped in yet, and someone bumped me, and then they adjust it. Second, Amber. So I want to hear a pro. I mean, there has to be. You're 5'11". There's got to be some big Dutch women. There's some story where somebody did probably try to push you off a wheel. Right? Was there some contact in the pro peloton? There's like end of a race. There's trains going. Mm-hmm. Not that we shouldn't do that, but do you have any stories that you want to tell us?
There's a lot of stories. Again, this is not necessarily like you don't go into a race thinking like, okay, I'm going to go, body check everybody, but the body checks happen. And sometimes I'll just say
World Tour
this.
is different. Like World Tour is different than us, like age group racers.
Yes. And I'll tell you one thing, you do not want to have a reputation as a dangerous rider because no one will make space for you in the peloton. If you're a dangerous rider and no one wants to be anywhere near your wheel because you have a reputation for doing dangerous things, you're going to have a really hard time positioning in the peloton because no one's going to want to be around you. And the second they see you coming, everyone's going to want to get in front of you. If you're a really safe rider in the peloton and you're a solid wheel, people are actually going to be glad to give up a wheel to you because they're going to feel really safe next to you and know that if they're next to or behind you, that they're probably in a really safe spot. So that's one thing to keep in mind. I do have a funny story. One time I was doing a lead out for my team in Italy and it was really hot and in the summer. And all of a sudden I felt this nice, cool feeling on my arm. And I looked over and there was this tiny, she was a sprinter on another team, but she was like a third my size. And she was headbutting me to try to get in on our lead out train. And I just looked down at her and was like, that's so cute. Because obviously
I thought that was going to be who blew on LeBron? Like blew on.
Oh
his
yeah,
ear.
that's
like,
right. yeah, I remember that. Yes.
I was like, was someone psyching you out? Like, trying to be like a cute lead out.
And did you just hold your ground and just like let the rider just bounce off you?
I literally, in that case, I didn't have to do any leaning because I was so much bigger than she was, and there was just. It would have taken a lot of force from her to take me off my line. And I wasn't going to go anywhere. So, it ended up being totally safe because we were both holding our lines because, she had her head on my arm, but we were just traveling in parallel lines. So it was pretty funny.
In my opinion, there's almost no situation, I can't think of one off the top of my head, that headbutting is cool, especially age grouping. I only think of like you're going to get pushed into a pole and you can't stop and they don't hear you yelling. And you're like, get over, we're going to die. Something like that. But not like, I need this line or you're pushing me out on this turn. None of that stuff.
No.
I want to bring this. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Amber.
I was just going to say, even at the pro level, I think what more happens, it's not really intentional. It's less about intention. I really don't think in her mind she was thinking she could actually move me over. But more what happens is you're kind of testing to see what would it take to psych this person out, to Ivy's point, right? Like, so if she puts her helmet in my arm, if I'm a real jittery rider, I might give up the wheel to her because she's making me nervous. But if I'm a really confident rider, then I'm not going to give up the wheel. So she learns something about who I am. And then she learns, for future races that I'm maybe not the person that she wants to try to take a wheel from because I'm less likely to give one up. And so sometimes you see some little psychological games like that going on in the field. But again, that's even less about contact, and it's more about like, how close can I move to this person, toward this person before they start giving up space? And if they don't start giving up space, then you kind of realize, okay, I might have to make contact, and maybe that's not such a good idea. So I'm going to go to try to take a wheel from somebody else.
I think there's an important thing to tie all this back to. Stephen's question of where is the line, like legally? Like Ivy said, they don't explicitly state contact with one rider's body to another rider's body. Contact with they don't state that. Mm-hmm. Instead, they say that if it's dangerous, then it's up to the discretion of the referee. So what you have to do then is you have to sort of establish principles that can guide your decision making. And this is really important. We actually have, and producer Aaron will hopefully be able to bring this up.
Can we say one thing before that? Yeah.
Sure.
So what Amber said too about being the rider who give up wheels, and people will know that. My opinion on this is it's the asymmetric risk. I just had this in an air center crit where it was a pace line. It was like 30 minutes through. And for some reason, I didn't know this guy. He just tried to push me out. We weren't even going fast. And I was just like, what are you doing? I actually said that to him, and he kept going over to push me. Like, what are you doing? And to me, the joys of winning a race is way less than crashing. I would totally rather get last place than crash. I mean, it's the same thing. There's no benefit for me. It's very small benefit for that. So instead, what I did to get back at him, because I am vengeful, is I attacked that race so hard, and I made it hard, and he got dropped. And then I didn't have to deal with him. And I just had like 4 people to deal with after that. Right. I don't think Amber's trying to make this point either, is it's okay to give up a wheel for safety. And you don't, like, if people know you as someone who don't be like, it's like the bully at school. If they pick on me once, they're always going to pick on me. Don't worry about it. This is just bike racing. Like, you got to, and there's other ways then you can get in a good position. So I want to
back Nate up on that. That's totally true. And I give up wheels all the time. And the reason is 90% of the time, it doesn't really matter. But when in the crux moments of the race where it really, really matters, I won't give up a wheel. But that's usually when it's harder for somebody to take a wheel anyway, because the race is going really fast and it's chaotic. But in the times when there's a lull and things are pretty chill, if somebody wants to move around, I mean, safety is always, always, always the number one goal. Always live to race another day. And that sounds extreme, but I mean, it's bike racing. We all want to have fun, and it's giving up a wheel versus hitting the deck. I mean, it's a no-brainer. Like, you stay safe. So I don't mean it exactly. I'm really glad that you said that, Nate, because it's not about like, oh, I should never ever give up a wheel, or I'm going to develop this reputation. No, develop a reputation of being a good wheel, and that means giving up wheels a lot of the time in order to stay safe, and only really getting that aggressive, assertive style in the moments where it really matters. It's also easier on your brain too, because it takes less focus.
and like so many times, it goes both ways. But again, it's early in the race; it doesn't matter, or it's not fast. And someone tries to like get my wheel, and I go, "Oh, that dude's 6'4". He's like almost 2 meters. Like, you get in there, buddy. And it's a great draft. And that's what you got to think of too.
Yeah. Why are people trying to get in front of you, Nate?
Seriously.
You know what? When we're in a pace line and I'm drifting back, I'm surprised people aren't like, Nate, come on in. Because it's like, John, you can attest to it. It is a different experience behind me.
It's wonderful. Yeah.
You save like 40
It's like a
watts.
tractor beam. Yeah.
That's, you should be letting me in and like getting behind me. And then I have no snap. I will just like drag you to the finish line. But I can't do that. That always like perplex me for people that know me. Like, I'm kind of a accidental lead out man all the time.
Yeah.
I'm in the end at the race. Like all these races, I'm there. Anyways.
Everyone should just follow. It's really, really interesting. To recap, there is no rule about contact. Instead, you have to think of all of these things, and you have to build the sort of skills to be able to keep yourself and everybody else safe when those things happen. If you feel like, also one thing that I've learned is I don't ever want to discuss a race incident with anybody give me 15 minutes after the race to be able to calm down and then be able to discuss it. Cause I'm thinking of like masters racing or amateur racing, and we see like the cool down lap blow ups, and none of us are in a right mind state after a race. And I've been guilty of that too. Like talking about something right after the race, like, no, let's get distance from it. Let's think about it, because then we'll get a fair perspective. Like Amber said, is everybody safe? That's what matters most, you know?
One of our races that we did in our YouTube, somebody did that, and you can hear him swearing afterwards. And he was like, I came on the far left side of the corner and I came in and you cut me off and all this sort of stuff. And then, but I have GoPros, so I went to my car and filmed it up because I saw it happen. I played it back. He could not be tighter to the right side of the curb. And like he was trying to make a 90-degree turn and get cut off. And he hit somebody's wheel, but it didn't go down. And he saw that and he immediately was like, oh, I am totally wrong. So my point is, your memory of the incident is very hard and probably not what the real incident was. And don't argue in the race. I think we've all, so I don't know if it happens in the women's peloton, but in the male's peloton, next lap, people are like, they look like they're going to fight each other in spandex on their bikes in a race. It's just crazy.
Don't do it. Nothing productive comes from that.
Yeah,
I just saw Amber have a visceral reaction.
If you like this video, make sure you give us a thumbs up.
If you didn't like this video, you can give it a thumbs down, but let us know what you would have done differently in the comments below.
If you want to see more of these videos, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you want to become a faster cyclist, check out TrainerRoad.com.
Do it.
If you think I have better hair than Jonathan, give it a thumbs up. If not, leave a comment.
My hair is better than his.